broadcasting on the DVC to all points unknown. If you're within the sound of my voice, you're listening to Welcome Home Podcast on the DVC.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us on episode 17 of Welcome Home, a Disney Parks and Vacation Club podcast. I'm Tom, and as always, here with Trevor and Damon. What is up, guys?
How's it going?
Hey, we're doing good, Tom.
I'm sure, Damon, you're feeling pretty nice and relaxed coming back from your Disney cruise, huh?
Yeah, I didn't really think I wanted to come back.
You wanted to stay on that cruise forever and ever?
If there was an episode like of Star Trek, you know, in those time loop ones, that would be cool. I'd be all right with that.
So like a Groundhog Day of Disney cruise, you just wake up every morning and it's the same day again?
That would have been fine. I would have been A-okay with that.
That would be a weird movie if the guy was like okay with it.
You're not supposed to be okay with it. I mean, but I guess it's cool too. So, but we would love for you to tell us about your cruise, since I've never been on a Disney cruise and I've always wanted to do it. And I don't know if you've been on one, Trevor, but
no, I've never done one either. So yeah, I do want to hear about this.
So there's a lot of great stuff to talk about. So I guess I'll leave the DVC stuff for last. And just kind of talk about it. So what we did is we did a Jamaica, Cozumel, Grand Caymans, Castaway Cay cruise, 7 days. We caught a little bit of a depression, storm-wise. So there was a night or two that was a little rough. I was okay, but my son did not make it. Well, actually, how this trip starts out, actually, I have a good piece of information for everybody. So we get down there and my kids seem like they're sick. And I'm like, oh crap, like we're about to get on the boat. My kids are sneezing and coughing and this and this and this. So I said, all right, we ran to the CVS. So there is a CVS that is close to Port Canaveral. And like I came out of the store with 5 bottles of all sorts of cough medicine, syrup, cold, this, that, and the other thing, because I felt like it was going to be expensive on the ship.
I'm sure it would be. I'm sure it would be way marked up. It wasn't.
See, that's the thing. So that's kind of the helpful hint of the day, is that the stuff that's on the ship in the pharmacy aspect is actually very well priced. You don't really have to bring everything with you like you think you do. So that's a little bit of a helpful tidbit. The other one is, based on that information that we did hit a couple rough patches, the Bonine, the Dramamine, is free. So all the people that stock up on it before you go, you're wasting your money. It's free on the ship. They
give you free Dramamine? That's amazing. Do they do that? They don't do that on every cruise ship, do they? Or is that just Disney?
I don't know. But I can tell you that it's free. You just go down to the health spot. My wife actually came home the first night. She's like, came home with like a whole like wad. Like, I don't even know how else to explain it. It was a wad full of single-use packets.
Just a pile of them.
Yeah, pretty much. And you know, like I said, my son got a little sick. There was one night, it was like straight out of a movie. We're in the dining hall. I think we were in Royal Court, and was it Royal Court or Enchanted Garden? Maybe Enchanted Garden. I think it was actually, Enchanted Garden. We're in there, and like my son's, you can tell he's just not feeling well. And again, I'm still eating and I'm okay. Like, I don't feel like I'm 100%, but like, I feel like, oh, you know, the ship is actually kind of getting a little crazy. And he was like, yeah, I gotta go right now. And I was like, all right, you know, no problem. I told my wife, you know, bring the rest of the food back and no big deal. And I'll just eat it when I get in there. So he's like walking. All of a sudden he's like, yo, I gotta start running. So he runs out into the bathroom, and then we open the door, and it's like every stall is like used. Kids are throwing up in the sinks. No. Like, it's just crazy. Oh, no. Thank goodness there was a spot for him. Like, someone had just finished. He hopped in, threw up, and he was actually fine. So we gave him medicine after that. He went back to bed and was fine. And we had 2 nights where they came over the ship loudspeaker and were like, hey, it's going to be a little rough between this and this. And, you know, the one I slept through fine, no problem. And the other one, like, I woke up and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like, it felt like someone was rocking you to sleep. Like, I was okay with it. So it was, though, more so, you know, more rocky than I was used to. That's for sure. But Disney did everything they could. You know, they're very accommodating, and it did not take away from the cruise at all. Had a great time. We got off in each port. One of the ports, the Falmouth at Jamaica, is owned by Royal Caribbean, so they had a boat there. And excursion-wise, we actually did the Stingray Adventure on Castaway Cay. That's Disney's island. And it was fine. You know, we got to swim with the stingrays. And the nice thing, again, because everything's been Disneyfied, right? all the
Disneyfied.
stingers,
I like that word, Disneyfied.
all the stingers from the stingrays are actually clipped off. They say it's like clipping your nails. They start to grow back, but they clip them off, right?
Yeah,
So you don't have
I've
to
seen
worry.
those. I've seen that at aquariums and stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
They do that. So yeah, that's awesome though.
So we got to snorkel with them. So there's like this area where you can snorkel with all the stingrays. I think there was 40 something of them. There's barracuda in the water too. But there was like 40 stingrays. It was awesome. So we did that. And
Did you
then-
actually like hold the stingrays? Like, because
Yeah.
I did that on a vacation once, and I was like really grossed out by it.
Oh yeah, they're a little spongy.
I like them.
Slimy.
The very cool thing was, again, this is our second Disney cruise. The area that is snorkeling, which again, they have shark nets, which is always nice, right? A lot of other cruise places, their personal islands, they don't have them. So they have this shark netting. And what was really nice though is when we went out this time, it was a little different. And I don't know if it was because of the hurricane or not. Like the sand was a little, like one area was like where we were used to the kind of the right hand side had a lot of Disney stuff, like sunken like Disney ships and hidden Mickeys and stuff like that. None of that was there anymore. It was just, waist high water. And then to the left, there was the deeper area. We got to see sea turtles. Oh, it was awesome. There were sea turtles. There was, fish
awesome.
out there. And there was, some in the wild stingrays that were a little bit smaller that fit through the nets. And I mean, we had a great time. Food was phenomenal. As always, I mean, we never have any problems there. Kids Club was great. We saw stormtroopers because the Kids Club is that Star Wars thing now. So there was like stormtroopers walking around the ship, which was great. And we were not on a Star Wars cruise. It was just, they're stormtroopers now and you get to see them. We had a lot of interaction with Mickey. The Halloween events were done extremely well. There's this pumpkin tree and there's this whole thing where, the kids put the seeds into the mouth of the pumpkin tree. And then the next day the pumpkins grow on the tree. Very well done.
That's really cool.
Yeah, the tree is very nice. And
I wanted to ask you about Castaway Cay really quick.
sure.
There used to be my favorite Disney ride of all time, and I don't think I've ever brought this up on the podcast, is 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Mm-hmm. I love it too. Loved it.
I loved that thing so much, and I was so sad when they got rid of it. But I believe, if I remember correctly, the Castaway Cay has actually one of the old Nautiluses actually sunken in the ground there. I was wondering if you saw it.
So that's the thing. So I don't know if it was because of the hurricane or because they just changed the way that the snorkeling was done. Did not see it. That stuff that was over on that side is not there anymore. So
that's a bummer.
I don't know why. But the benefit for us at least was, again, seeing these sea turtles and you can go right down there and touch them. It was crazy. Like that was really cool. And the stingrays and the things like that. And actually other people which were on the cruise, I did not see them, saw squid and like other cool things. So the snorkeling was awesome, even though we did not see those sunken ships. And what the CM told us there, she was saying that turtle had just recently started to come. So he was only about 2 weeks into his like hanging out at Castaway Cay. So I thought that was really nice for us to be able to see that. It was very exciting, especially for my daughter. She enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's really cool. Was there any damage on the island from the hurricane, or did they kind
Nothing
of
that I saw. No, nothing that I saw. We did a lot of bicycling as well, because there's like a bicycle path. The kids really wanted to run the 5K, but we had the Stingray adventure at the same time as the 5K, so we couldn't have done that. Actually, it was close enough we might have been able to pull it off, but it was a very relaxing vacation, so we were not trying to do that. So we said next time. And it was, like I said, I didn't see any damage. Everything looked the same from what I remember it. And it was a great time. But
Well, that's good.
So back on the ship. So they had all the Halloween stuff, which was great. We also, the Halloween party, man, people's costumes were outrageous. Outrageous, some of these costumes.
What were some of the ones you saw?
There was a lot of Nightmare Before Christmas? They a lot of like really good costumes like that. But what some people did is, because there's a pirate night and Halloween, there were some pirate costumes that were like, they were literally better than I think some of the things that I've seen in the movies. Like there was some people with some pirate costumes that were crazy good. There was all sorts of costumes, like a lot of princess stuff, a lot of superhero stuff, like a lot of Incredibles. A lot of people did Incredibles this year, but Frozone, but they were good. Like their costumes were really good. It wasn't something you would buy off the shelf. I would say if I had to just take a stab at it, it was about 40% like cosplay level costumes. So I thought that was very high.
That's amazing.
Yeah, very well done.
You can get those Incredibles costumes off the rack at like, at Walmart or whatever, but these were legit.
Yeah, these were legit. So that was very fun. Halloween was not actually on Halloween because of just the itinerary of the cruise ship. And we did no excursions to the other places. We actually did not even get off the boat at Cozumel. which was fine for us. We got off at Cayman's, which I would have probably done snorkeling excursion there had I done it again. And Jamaica, we just kind of hung around on the port. We were shooting for that relaxing vacation, and we definitely got it. We definitely got it. So the other things that I would suggest, and it's funny because we just did not know this on the first cruise. And again, I apologize. This is a lot of information, but I'm just trying to kind of spit it all out at once. And you can go back and listen to it again if you're going on a cruise. Is we didn't understand that there's actually seating for lunch as well. So you can do a breakfast seating and a lunch seating every day if you'd like. And I think it's at Royal Palace. I always confuse Enchanted Gardens and Royal Palace, but I think it was at Royal Palace. And you can sit down for lunch every day. Now, most of the time people do the buffet and things like that, and we didn't really know about this. And the first day when we got on, we were like, oh, we could go to Cabanas. That's one of the places for buffet, or Flo's is up there as well, on that Cars theme. And we said, oh, no, someone said, no, you can go to, over here and do a sit-down lunch. And we did that, and the food is a lot better. So I only actually did one buffet on the cruise, and while it was fine, I was like, oh, I'd rather just go sit down for lunch every day. The food quality was just better. Now for breakfast, it didn't really matter, right? I was doing eggs Benedict, out of a plate, a serving thing, or eggs Benedict right in front of me. They were both absolutely, top notch. So that didn't matter. So we did breakfast buffet a couple times, but for lunch, my suggestion is if you have the time, actually sit down and do the lunch. It was well worth it. You get to meet some, different people, and it was, it was definitely well worth it.
Now, sorry, just quick question.
Of course.
So this is all inclusive, right? So
this is all inclusive.
Okay.
Minus a few things. So there are a few things that you can pay for. That is the Remy and Paolo as an upcharge. I think Ziggy was telling us about that. We had that discussion. So
Ziggy was telling you have to go there.
Which I did not. It was funny. Now, after we've done this now, right? So we were kind of booked in, and we were, we go with friends. So we didn't really think about that. And I wasn't going to rock the boat right at that point. But I would say that go around again, I probably would do that as an upcharge. So that's an upcharge. Obviously alcohol, which again, we brought on 4 bottles of wine and bought the wine package for dinner. So we were covered. That was easy peasy. Because again, you can bring on 2 bottles each per adult. So that was fine.
That's pretty generous, I would say. I mean, yeah.
And since we drove, that was fine. That was easy. So we brought 4 bottles on and we were good. And, so yeah, those are all upcharges. I'm trying to think of what else. So the spa is actually an upcharge as well. Now there's something about the spa which I'll talk about after I kind of get into the DVC stuff as well. The spa was great. We actually used it every single day. But those are the upcharges. Everything else is free, and your excursions obviously you pay for. But overall, it's expensive. But from what I understand, talking to some other people after I got back, about the other cruises have a lot more upcharges. So I think that Disney, they do it well.
They include a lot more than other cruise lines do.
I feel like it. And I thought the food quality was fine. Again, there was a bunch of different things. My kids tried a ton of different food. And our servers were phenomenal this time. Our head waiter, phenomenal. And the guy that was, what do they call them? Housekeeping. But there's they have a name for them on the ship. But anyway, absolutely the best. I mean, the best. Their towel animals were on point. They had the room clean, and they know your name. Like, again, that's the thing with Disney, right? So you walk in, they're the first day. The guy that's doing housekeeping on your room knows your name. Hey, Damon, how's it going? Going good, Enrique. It's just it's the level that the effort that they put forth was there, and the magic tricks that they do at the table, it was all very well done, and no internet, which was great, right? We loved that. We didn't even bring our work. Completely disconnected. That's which was phenomenal. So the DVC stuff and the spa kind of plays itself hand in hand, which is interesting. So, and I also sat in on a DVC, a point thingy. What do they call those? Well, anyway, we were looking. Was
it like
points.
A meeting to buy
yes.
add-on
points?
Yeah,
and that so we set up a special meeting. So,
cool.
The first thing that happens is, there's a meet and greet for DVC members, and this all is for, and I found this out later, is for 7-day cruises, and that's why we didn't have it on our 4-day. Huh. So
I have to admit, I had no idea that this was an actual thing.
Yeah. So on the 4-day, what ended up happening is we got a bunch of stuff. Every day you'd get a little something, right? But stuff you're not going to use, like a blinking bracelet or a hat that just doesn't fit right, or, whatever the case may be, you could get that. So this time though, what I was told is that they took all that money that they were using to give people stuff and said, you know what, let's just do these 2 events instead. So we went to the first one. And again, the nice part about it is the one thing I forgot to mention, upcharge bottled water. Now, I was drinking water out of the, dispensers, and it was fine for me, but you know how some people get about water. So go to the first DVC thing, and they have Shirley Temple's virgin daiquiris, champagne, wine, and rum somethings. Island rum drinks with blue and craziness in them.
Wow.
And as many as you want.
So wait, I just want to know more about this because I'd never heard of this until you told me about it. So was this a timeshare presentation in the beginning, or this was just this was just for DVC members currently, like a meet and greet, like hello party
so
type of
the
thing?
First one, they go through and they tell you about the new resort. So the Copper Creek is what they were talking about, and they give you like a 10-15 minute overview of things, and then you're allowed to sign up if you want to sit with a cast member to go talk about extra points, right? But you don't have to, and that's fine. And again, the crazy thing is that you can drink as many drinks as you want. I mean, again, I probably shouldn't say this, but like we took like 6 bottles of water, right? Because
well, that's probably by design because you have a bunch of those blue drinks, and then all of a sudden you're like, yeah, we could use 150 points of Copper Creek.
Exactly. But Evian water to boot, right? So he took a bunch of waters. The kids had their Shirley Temples, and we had a couple drinks, and that was it, right? So we kind of hung out and did that, and then there was a raffle for $200 onboard money, right? And I won, which was phenomenal. So
nice. What
happened is my wife is leaving to go, and they have this thing at the spa. It's called the Rainforest Experience. And it was about $200 for the week because we didn't purchase it before we got on. So, they only really had the whole week left. So you could buy 4 days, but it's very hard to actually, you can't do it online. You have to call. So that's another little helpful hint. My friend called and got 4 days. Otherwise, you can't see it in your things, to purchase while you're on the website for the cruise. So because we wanted to go with them and do this, my wife's up there and she's like, hey, it's $190 for the whole week for both of us. And I'm like, dude, I just don't really want to spend that money, and all of a sudden I won $200. And I'm like, yep, sign us up. So
because now it's free.
Because now it's pretty much free. So we ended up doing that. And what it is you go to the spa and they have dry sauna, I guess a regular sauna, and a Turkish bath. And then they have 4 of these showers that are just, they're experiences. They're water experiences. They're not really showers. So like the first one, there's this rain head that comes down, and then there's a like icy cold waterfall that just like flows out of the side randomly on you. The second one is tropical storm, and it's got aromatherapy as well as like I think there's like 12 jets up top, and it like simulates like a rainstorm. The one on the right did like a Mediterranean something rainstormy thing, and then the one in the back was cool mist or Siberian mist, which was really cold. And you're supposed to go and do the dry heat, one of the showers, the sauna, one of the showers, and then the Turkish bath, and they give you a scrub, tangerine or chocolate or whatever they got going on. You're supposed to scrub down and ladle off the stuff, another shower, and then there's another room, and in the other room there's these like tiled like lounge, like chaise lounge sort of things, and you sit in them, and they're heated from the backside, and there's 2 jacuzzis, and then it overlooks the water, but there's no windows. Like it's an open concept where the jacuzzis are. And again, it costs about like, depending on when you purchase it, I mean, it's like averaging, let's say $15 a person per day, and you can go as much as you want. You could stay there all day if you wanted to. So that was, again, well worth it for us. Now, the other thing I did find out is that you can purchase single days when you're on the boat. It's not guaranteed, but I'll tell you, if you go on a day when people are in port, you could do a single day easily, because on days that people are in port, like, we rode Aqueduct 4 times, because no one there. So that's why we did not even bother getting off the boat in Cozumel and got to do a bunch of things. We did that. There's also a it's a Goofy sports simulator. So, like those places where they have, the indoor golf where you can hit into the screen and things like that.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Okay, so there's one for Goofy up there, but it has all different sports. It has basketball, it has baseball, it has bocce ball, it has football. So, you're taking footballs and throwing them, against the screen. And so the boys did that. And I want to say that was relatively cheap. I think it was, I want to say $15 for 30 minutes, and you can bring as many people as you want. I think I could be wrong on the amount, but it was so cheap that that's why I don't even remember the amount, because it was so cheap. So we did that as well. There's mini golf up there. I mean, I play basketball, so we shot some hoop up there, but we played mini golf, I think twice. The kids played mini golf and all of that. So
is it mini golf? MINNI?
It is not. No.
Oh, what? They missed an opportunity there.
Yes.
What are they
so
doing?
Now, later in the cruise, there's what you would call, I guess, an actual just mixer. So they don't sell you on anything. They do Disney trivia with you, no sell, and just hang out again, drinks, water, and whatever. So, we hit that one up again. Got our drinks, got our water,
wouldn't you?
Got our wine, got all of that. And I had way too many rum drinks that day, and it was all. But anyway, so we did that. And again, that's just what they want you to do there is kind of hang out and meet other Disney DVC members. Now, we're there with somebody that's already a DVC member, so, we were not mingling that much, but there was people that were, so I thought that was nice to, like I said, a great way to meet other DVC members. And at that point, we're like, hey, let's see what they got going on for, points and things like that. So on the second floor of the ship, there's like a little section that's set off to the side that has, the DVC blue doors, and there's like 4, I think, rooms down there where, they try to sell you points, and we sat in on it. Now they had the only thing I would have bought was if they had Saratoga points. I wanted 50, but they did not, so I kind of got out of that. That was actually good, right? And my friend was looking for 50 points in Animal Kingdom, which they had none at that point either. Wow. But we sat through, and then we get 15 fast passes because of that.
Just for sitting through that, you get 15 fast passes?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So the nice thing is they didn't make the whole family go. Just me and my friend, went as head of the household, and that was good enough. And, we have 5 people. You get 3 fast passes. Now, they don't work at Pandora, so okay, fine. But they work, I think, everywhere else besides Pandora, and they won't work at Toy Story Land if we're there, at that time.
Well, that's fair. I mean.
And that's fair because here's the thing. I literally sat in the room with her for 15 minutes, if that, because they had no points, right? And even if they had points and wanted to sell me, you know how they are. It's not a hard sell. I can walk away. It's so worth it to do it when you're on a cruise, because you're going to have 30 minutes of your cruise time when there's nothing to do. Why not get fast passes? Because there's no way that 3 fast passes, I could ride Soarin', Test Track, and it doesn't work for Mine Ride either. Okay. Again, I'm fine with that. Yeah. But if I rode Soarin', Test Track, and Toy Story Mania, well, yeah, I'm Tom though, so let's say Toy Story Mania.
I love Toy Story Mania. It's one of my favorites.
Or let's say I rode Toy Story Mania 3 times. You're telling me that's not worth a half an hour of my time?
100% worth it.
Yeah, so that was worth it as well. We also had a great hypnotist on the cruise. The show was great. So for you guys, I'll talk a little shows, right? Because normally, I don't care about shows. But Aladdin was phenomenal.
Oh, so you did actually go see the show then?
Well, you almost have to, because the way the cruise is broken up is that you either have the show before or after dinner, and it's kind of like a downtime anyway. Now, we love to do the show before dinner. It means a very late dinner, which is okay because you're up late anyway most of the time. Again, like I didn't go to bed till like 12:30, 1 o'clock. That's crazy, right? Crazy talk. So eating at like 8 to 9:30 is okay. It wasn't a problem. So we did the shows first. So yes, we did all the shows except one, Believe, which we had seen before when we were on our past cruise. I just wasn't really all that interested in it. But Wishes was really good. I liked it more than anyone else did, but that's fine. And Aladdin, which was crazy good. And then this hypnotist, Ricky Kallman. Oh, this guy was insane. I mean, he had people doing crazy stuff. So much so that when we saw the show, we were ready to skip dinner to go to the second show. But then he told us that there's also an adults only show that was the next night, which was the night before we actually had to get off the boat. And it was at like 10:30. And you know me, like, that's way past my bedtime, but I trooped it up and went anyway. And that was top notch. So all the shows, like I said, were great. Aladdin was really well done. I mean, really was well done. The guy that played Genie was good. no Robin Williams, of course, but it was still it's good.
I was going to say, if it's anything like the Aladdin that they had in California Adventure, then yeah, it's a fantastic show. It's like that Broadway type show, right?
Yes, and Wishes. And again, I want to make sure. I think this is Wishes. Again, someone will correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sure, but what it is, it's these three kids that have always gone to Disneyland. So I pretended it was Disney World, but have always gone to Disneyland every year, and now they're going away to college, right? And what happens is they kind of get caught behind the scenes of a ride. It was very well done, and a lot of different characters and scenes from all different rides. Very well done. Really enjoyed that a lot.
It's funny when you said Wishes, I assumed it was like the fireworks show on
no, there was fireworks though inside the theater, if you can believe that.
What? Yeah, how's that even possible?
Yeah, it's crazy. We're like, wow, it smells like smoke down here, right? Yeah, they do fireworks inside the theater, which is just nuts.
It's not like the fireworks at Muppet Vision 3D, where they're just LEDs on the screen and the ceiling.
No, there's smoke. There's smoke.
Crazy. I don't even do that.
And the other cool thing is again, I wasn't allowed to take pictures, and man, were they it's the only time I saw Disney people really kind of adamant. Let's use that as a word. They were rehearsing for the Christmas show. And that was awesome because we got to we got to see the Christmas show, obviously without the backgrounds, right? But they all, characters all had on their costumes, and we got to see the Christmas show from start to finish because they were rehearsing it. And that was, again, the day during Cozumel when everyone's off the boat, excluding us, and some other people. So that was nice to actually see that. Then they did that in the main atrium as they rehearsed it. So that was really kind of fun.
So you actually got to see the Christmas show? Was it the full thing, or was it?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, that's great. That's
cool.
Cool.
Minus the tree and obviously all the background items because it's still Halloween there.
Yeah, but being able to roll Halloween and Christmas into one trip is pretty sweet, though.
Yeah, it was. It was definitely this. And again, I think the highlight though was the two highlights, I guess, for my daughter was again, you always have to check that little guide. So she got a free charm at one of the jewelry stores for wearing pink. There's so many things to do on the boat, all these little small things that you just kind of have to make sure you're aware of what's going on. So one night, if you wore pink and went to this jewelry store, they gave you a free charm, which was that was awesome.
That's awesome.
And we did Family Feud night. We did a cooking class where they taught us to make apple strudel. We did all sorts of crazy stuff. I mean, I could definitely waste 3 hours just telling you about all the stuff they have that we did. But it's again, if you want to be busy, you can be busy. And busy in a relaxing way, not busy in watch someone teach you how to make, strudel is relaxing. It's not crazy. Family Feud,
busy running around the parks, busy.
No, and Family Feud was fine. There was a talent show. My daughter got up and sang. We had a good time. A relaxing good time. But it is experience. So the two cool things. The one is that they were doing some sort of party. I don't even remember what it was because there's always some interesting party going. Castaway Cay, there's a party, and you're getting off the cruise tomorrow, there's a party. I think it might have been the last celebration party before you were getting off, sort of thing. But Minnie Mouse is on, I guess that would call it deck 7, by herself, just dancing to Taylor Swift. And my daughter's like, hey, we're up here, and we're like, why is Minnie Mouse all by herself? And her handler, of course, right? So it's just Minnie and her handler, and nobody's there. And so my daughter got to spend a good 10 minutes with Minnie Mouse, by herself. It was really fun. And then one time when we were coming out of the kids club, there was just randomly 2 stormtroopers and I guess some sort of Imperial officer walking, I guess, to probably the changing room. So they were walking out in the ship for a little bit because there's one little hallway that's no, you can't go there hallway, right? I think that's where they do all their changing. And they were walking there. So it was really cool to see the stormtroopers outside of the kids area. Now you can go in the kids area for 5 minutes with your kid, if you have a kid, and there's 2 open houses and that's it. So I did not really get to see anything in kids area because my wife took them. And now my boys who are 11 and 13, they can check themselves in and out. So my 11-year-old could have gone to that kids area, but he could check himself in and out by himself. And then my 13-year-old was at the next level up, which is called Edge. And they could check themselves in and out of there. And they had fun doing all sorts of stuff in there. And they did a lot of roaming of the ship. They have, those it's like the Phineas and Ferb thing. There's 3 of them on the boat. Right, with different portraits across the whole boat that the kids can do. And my boys love doing those, and they change every day. So you could do them as much as you wanted. So they did them a few times, and then my daughter did one because she was upset because she couldn't get to do one. She did one on the one night, and I think that it was Jafar that night that, stole all the puppies or something along those lines. So I think that's what I got. I think that's cruise in a nutshell.
Yeah. No, that sounds like you had a great time. I'm jealous. I really want to do a.
And if you book a cruise when you're on the cruise, it's 10% off.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
And when cruises for 5 people are like 14,000, like 10% off, it makes a difference.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, it makes a difference. So we are looking to cruise again. So we're in 2017. We are shooting for 19. And our friends are trying to push it to 20, but we're going to bully them into 19, I think. So we're shooting for 19 as our next cruise, and I wish I could do one next year. And if I have the money, don't I will go, because what's funny is that when they bought into DVC, what the giveaway was for DVC was a free cruise.
Oh wow!
So they took that cruise without us, and so they have one more cruise than us. Now there's different levels of cruising: silver, and gold, and you get different gifts. So the gift for silver was a backpack this time, which was nice, but they're one cruise ahead of us. So they're going to reach gold before us. So I keep telling them, like, I'm going on a cruise without you, right? Like, I'm not going to let you reach gold before I do. So I have a cruise somewhere that I need to do without them. So I don't know when that will be.
That's really funny.
Yeah. So it was good.
No, it sounds like you had a great time. It sounds awesome. I think they get rated like the #1 cruise line like every year. So it makes a lot of sense.
They do. And again, like, you feel the DVC there. Like I said, just beyond those two things, there's a DVC area, that's staffed all the time. And the one guy helped me out with some internet issues we were having. Well, excuse me. There's a WAN, Wi-Fi that you can use for texting between. So again, it's nice to have that, right? So you can text all the members in your party.
Yeah.
And ours was not working. It went down one night, and when it came back up, there was something. So I went over there, and the guy fixed it. Again, they're there to, answer quick questions and things like that. And if they know your DVC, they're nice to you. And we got hats. I think that was the other gift. So we got the backpacks and we got the hats. And the hats this time were not bad. They were not. Last time we got the hats, we left them at my in-laws' house because I'm like, I'm never wearing that hat. Just leave it there. Right?
Is it like a ball cap or what?
Yeah. But this time it's black, and it's a little bit nicer looking, like something that you might actually wear, rather than something you would not wear. So I thought that was
something that you'd leave behind at your parents' or in-laws' house.
So that was definitely nice. So that's the cruise in a nutshell. If anyone has any questions, please email them in. Like I said, it's only my second cruise, but I did a lot of asking of questions this time. I did a lot of DVCing wherever I could. So, definitely. And there was some, again, if you bought points, I think you had to buy 125 points, and you would get in-room credit again if you bought them on the cruise ship. I wasn't even thinking about it, so I don't know what the numbers were, because I wasn't even in that realm, right? I wasn't going to buy it. It didn't matter what was happening. I wasn't buying 125 points. I was shooting for 50 maximum. But there are, like I said, you can get credit if you buy points while you're on the cruise.
It's funny you bring that up too, because we're actually we're going to talk about some DVC news today, because there are some new purchase incentives, and so kind of what you're just talking about here. There's some new purchase incentives outside the cruise if you buy elsewhere. So I guess we'll talk about that in a few. But that's really cool. I didn't realize there was so much DVC stuff on the cruises.
Yeah,
I didn't realize. I mean, I assumed there were representatives where you could buy your points, but I feel like the last place I would think I would buy points is when I'm on a cruise. I don't know why. It just doesn't register to me for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, it's the nice part of it is you have a little bit more free time. You know what I mean?
To
like
really
that's the
think
good
about
part.
it and talk
to really
about
think
it.
about it and to talk about it with somebody. And again, I'm happy that I'll get my fast passes. To be honest with you, I keep thinking about it. Like, why not always go and ask for points?
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like,
yeah, right.
Why not? I mean, to talk for half an hour is not so bad. So I'm on the wait list in case points come up.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. But what I'll probably do is I'll decline that, and then I'll go again and talk to them next time.
Well, that's the great thing about it too, though. Like, because we initially went to the initial meeting just because we wanted ice cream sundaes, fast passes, and a gift card. So,
yeah.
And to find out more information, of course. But all the free stuff they give you to actually talk to them is totally worth whatever timeshare presentation that they give you, and it's never. I like the three of us have said, it was never high pressure for any of us. So It's not like you're going there feeling like you have to say yes or anything like that. So it's totally worth it just to sit down and talk about it, as long as you're not going to compulsively buy it, because that's not always the greatest idea. But
yeah, I feel I need to set up an appointment on my next trip down to Disney World though now.
It's so worth it.
Oh, yeah.
The only thing I would say is the CM that was giving the pitch, I was not a fan of, and that's the first time I could possibly say that.
Oh, wow.
She was new, right? And again, I'm not going to get all into it because it wasn't that big of a deal. She was newer, and I think had that a little bit more of that like sale mentality, like I wouldn't say pushy, but it was. If the points came up, I could have been like, I'd rather give somebody else the credit. Like, I would have. Let's put it that way. She was fine, but not magical. I'll leave it at that. Not magical. And the only other knock on the cruise I would say this time that I had was they were pushing their drink packages a little bit more than last time. But that was in the beginning. And again, you would say no, thank you. And it was fine. But it was a little bit more than I thought than last time.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for giving us that whole rundown of your cruise. I was glad to hear about it. I don't know if Trevor, you had any questions for him before we move on for anything, but
no, actually, I think that was good. I had no idea half of what was available on a cruise, so that's pretty enlightening. So thanks for that.
And we didn't even do half of the stuff. You know what I mean? Like there was bingo.
Wow.
The itinerary, it's called the Navigator, and the itinerary on the Navigator, there's like at least 4 things to do every half an hour to an hour overlapping. So, at any given time, there's 4 different things you could be doing besides the pool, besides sitting upstairs and just, there's movies playing in the funnel, which is the big screen that's outside at all times.
Wow.
And again, there's so much to do on top of that. So there's at least 4 things you could be doing that you would want to do at all times. We missed a lot of things. So the thing that, again, I would go back to, and it just didn't fit into our schedule, but I wasn't trying to have one of those sort of vacations. There's a lot of drawing classes. Like
which, animation
again,
type classes or just drawing pictures or like.
So animation classes.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And the thing is, that because Star Wars Bay took that area over, those classes that they used to do drawing the characters are gone. They had a class like that at least once every other day, and an animation class on the other days as well. There were some days that they had 3 different drawing classes going on, and we were just not able to hit any of them. In Animator's Palette, which is one of the restaurants, you get to draw and your stuff goes on the screen. I don't know if you guys knew about that. That's really cool.
I have seen that before.
Yeah. So we did that obviously the night we were there, and that was really fun. But that's the one thing I missed, and we missed it every single time. Like, you know what I mean? Like it probably was at least 9 times, and we just couldn't hit any of them. And they also had Thor opened the day before. So Thursday night they had Thor, and we just couldn't do it. It was just like, man, I can't sit 2 hours and something minutes for a movie while I'm on a cruise.
Oh, as in like the new Thor movie they were playing?
Yeah, they had it the day before it came out in the theaters.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so there's 2 movie theaters on the ship. Like, it's nuts. There's 2 movie theaters. So one is the theater that they put all the shows on, and it also turns it into a movie theater. And then there's an actual separate movie theater.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen Thor yet, by the way?
I have not.
Totally going off track.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. It was so good. But anyway, that's not the podcast.
We'll get into that some other time.
You got to watch Thor.
We could actually tie Marvel in later on in the episode.
That's actually true. Yeah, we'll talk some Marvel later. But so just kind of going, and thanks again, Damon, for talking about all that. But so more DVC news, and this is, DVC doesn't always have a ton of news, but there were some couple of things that came out the past couple of days. And I have to say, this first one, I didn't even know that this was actually a thing. I'm so embarrassed. We have a DVC podcast, and half the time I hear about these things, and I'm like, I don't even know that this was a thing. But apparently, so they keep renewing the member lounge. The member lounge at Epcot is renewed until the end of 2018. And I saw an article that the Top of the World lounge is extended through 2018. And for the life of me, I didn't know that wasn't a permanent thing.
So I knew it wasn't permanent. I would like them to make all lounges permanent.
Yeah, I agree with you. I just assumed that was, since they built it, that it was going to be there forever. So I don't know. I just assumed they were always going to have that. It's just weird to me that they don't. Like, why don't they just make it a permanent thing? If they just want to keep it, open just in case they want it.
Options are always good.
I guess that makes sense.
So I have a very interesting question for you, Tom. As we're going to kind of go into 2018 dues, which I know that Saratoga Springs got beat, which kind of hurts me. But hey, so can you change if you are currently paying your dues yearly, can you just switch them back over to monthly?
I think so.
And how do you do that?
I'm going to guess you probably call member services for that, because I pay monthly. I don't pay yearly. I pay monthly.
Yes.
I prefer it that way.
I'm going to be switching over from yearly to monthly, I believe. So I guess I'll be making a call to member service, and I'll let everyone know how it goes.
I'm pretty sure you can. I don't know why they wouldn't be flexible about that. It seems like something they would be able to do.
Yes. So I will let everyone know how the process goes.
Yeah, that's good to know. That's a great question. I'm pretty positive the answer to that is yes. But we that's a great point. You're bringing up dues, and so I saw there was a lot of discussion about this out there in some of the DVC member groups. Saratoga did get it pretty bad, but a couple of the resorts, the bad resorts, and the ones that you would assume, right, because of the hurricane, were Hilton Head, and there was an increase at Alani that was pretty large too. But also at Vero and Saratoga. A lot of people are saying the Saratoga one is because of the tree houses. I guess they kind of sustained some damages because they're out in the, obviously out in the woods, and some trees fell and things like that. Yeah. Did you guys see that the hurricane cost Disney $100 million?
Yeah, it seems about right.
Yeah, that's just crazy to me.
That's probably really not all that bad if you consider the total cost of their assets. I mean...
Yeah, percentage-wise.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I mean, because $100 million, how much is that really to Disney, right? But I mean, it's not nothing, right? But
no, and I mean, they do have insurance for that too, right? So it's not like it's all out of pocket. It's that
exactly.
Yeah,
and that's actually some of what the resorts were. So there was 3 resorts that were actually charged hurricane assessments, which were Saratoga Springs, Hilton Head, and Vero Beach. And so, they have to pay the premiums on their insurance, basically. So, yeah, they have hurricane insurance. But, I think I read that the premium for the hurricane insurance at Hilton Head was like $750,000. So it's not like it's nothing, there's a lot of money involved there.
Yeah. And I mean, really... They said all this up front too, right? Or I don't know about you guys. When I was buying my points, they were pretty clear about, most years it'll be a fairly standard increase. And I mean, I saw that Polynesian actually got off pretty good this year because it was only like a 1% increase. But they said, it'll range. Is that, some years you'll be the resort that doesn't have a huge change, and other times you're unlucky. Especially when you have a hurricane that. Somebody's going to get hit at some point, unfortunately. So,
yeah, and I mean, like you said, it's not unexpected. I would say, and so a lot of the increases in the actual budgets are not all that bad. And Saratoga is not that bad either, Damon. You're not going to be getting killed.
No, I just felt like it was a good time for me to switch over. That was the thing. I'm gonna listen. At the end of the day, I'm buying more points, whether I buy them resale or not resale. And as I buy more points, right, my yearly dues are just gonna go up, and that's why I kind of want to feel like I want to switch over from my yearly, which again comes right after Christmas, which is tough, to monthly. Yeah. Just because I'm going to be buying more points in the future, and I know this, so that's kind of why I want to make that change. So again, I will make sure to let everyone know how that goes. So it probably what it's going to go like this. Hey, can you make that change? Can you call up TVC service to make that change? My wife will do it. And then I'll be like, hey, so how did that go? So I can tell everybody. That's probably how it will end up going.
That's funny.
And really, I get the feeling that this will be like a 5-minute phone call.
Yeah.
To have it
and
done.
And because you pay them up front. So again, I didn't know if they were in the rears or up front, but they are up front, so it's easy because I haven't paid mine yet, right?
Exactly.
It's not January yet. If they were in the rears, then it becomes a whole different ball game. Because you have to make your assessments before, you know what I mean? So this I think should be easy for me.
You might even be able to change that online. I almost feel
That's what my wife said. My wife keeps telling me, she goes, have you gone online and looked? I go, no, but I Googled it and nothing really came up. So I figured that I can't do it online.
Well, everything in the DVC member website, it does not show up in a Google search. It's not indexed. So.
Yeah, I just figure someone would have talked about it. You know what I mean? In one of the forums.
Yeah, that's true. But I guess most people don't like talking about the ugly side of it, which is, paying your dues every year.
That is true too. If I
That's
remember
true.
my password, I may try to see if it's on there while we're talking.
That's really funny.
I think I might go on there too and see if I can find it.
Well,
as well.
I feel like you made out the best in this whole thing, Trevor, though, because your dues I think are only going up like 1% or something like that. Mine are jumping 5%, and Damon's are about 5% too, so or 4.5%.
Yeah, and I think the only reason that mine were as low as they were is because it's still one of the actively sold resorts.
That makes sense.
Because Bay Lake Tower isn't active anymore because it's Copper Creek, Polynesian, and what's the third one? Is it Boulder Ridge?
Boulder Ridge, yep. And Boulder Ridge actually went down 1%. Or no, Copper Creek, I'm sorry, went down 1%.
Yeah, and that's exactly it, right? It's because they're actively selling it. They don't want to bump up your dues because that doesn't look nice, right? When they're trying to sell it.
True.
So
That's true.
Yeah.
No, and so if those that don't know too, you get sent every year. Those that are DVC members out there, you get sent a budget breakdown of everything they're spending your money on. So I don't know about you guys. I actually look at those things, but I don't attend meetings or anything. But
I read every piece of mail that comes in from DVC because that's a little bit of joy and excitement in my life.
Even reading a budget breakdown.
Yeah, I mean, I read the newsletters and stuff because, I mean, yeah, I paid for it. I might as well know what they're doing, right?
Exactly.
So,
You learn lots of new things in those things.
Yeah.
So I don't actually see it. So I'm going to say that you might not be able to do it online.
Oh, you logged in? Okay, and you tried to do
Yeah.
it? Yeah. So you went to the annual dues section and you're not seeing where you can change it?
There's nothing in there that I can change besides my, it says, make a payment, manage auto pay, or view statement. None of those look like options that are going to help me. So,
well, I guess you just have to call member services. I'm sure they'll be able to do it. I can't imagine they wouldn't because I don't think that's something you do contractually when you start it off.
of course.
I don't remember that, but I don't think it is. So, so we were talking. We kind of hinted before. There's some new purchase incentives out there too, and they looked kind of interesting. The ones I saw anyway. But there were some different things about like a $500 gift card when you purchase, and there's some developer credits that are going on too. So basically, if you buy, I don't know if you guys, I get emails from DVC every once in a while saying buy 150 points at Copper Creek and get this many points for free, or this much money back, or you could save a couple $1,000s. I don't know about you guys, but every time I see those, I'm like, they want me to buy far too many points for not enough incentive to do so.
Yeah, that's kind of my thinking too. Is that, I mean, I guess I don't know where I sit in the entire demographic of DVC, but I know there's lots of people out there that have, like
1,000 points.
Thousands of points,
and it's like, I'm happy. I only have 100 points, so them telling me to buy 150 points somewhere else, it's like, well, you're asking me to double down. And
so what I found interesting is you talk about that, right? Is that, so this is the kind of their sell when I was on the boat. And this is interesting. So she's like, why would you want to buy at Saratoga when you could buy at Copper Creek and get 9 extra years? And I said to myself, so she's doing the math for me. She's like, look, she goes, if you think about it math wise, right, that's going to save you, like a couple $1,000 because you have 9 extra years of, let's say, 50 points. And I go,
right,
look, here's where I fall in the demographic as you speak, Trevor, right? Is that I'll be 81. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to have enough time left in any contract to give them to my kids. So I'm going to walk out of there at 81 and go, I'm done. So
I got my money's worth. I'm out.
Yeah. Why do I want to buy points at a new resort? Even if I get those 9 years, I have to pay a premium up front, which is that $2,000 extra bucks, right? And again, I get 9 years for that. But 9 years doesn't do anything for me. It's not enough to really leave it to my kids. Again, if you told me I had 30 extra years, okay, that's different. 9 extra years isn't enough, and I'm paying more right now for them. So you're right. It really depends on where you sit in the demographic of what you want to do.
Well, and just looking at some of these incentives. So, for example, and these are only for like Polynesian, Alani, Copper Creek, basically is where they're doing these credits for. So, for example, if you buy 150 points at $176 per point, so it's you're paying full price, $176 per point, which is a lot. The buyer then gets, it's a lot. And the buyer gets $1,000 developer credit or $500 credit and a $500 gift card. If you buy 175 points, you get 2,500 developer credit and $2,000 or $2,000 credit plus a $500 Disney gift card. So it's like, to me, I'm like, no.
So they had this. They had this on a sheet, Tom, on the cruise, and at the bottom of the sheet it says if you buy 3,000 points, you get, and the money you got back was ridiculous, right? It's like $20,000, but that's like, it's like 3,000 points. I was like, who's going to get on a cruise and buy 3,000 points?
Exactly.
Like, that's this crazy talk. Again, the most I've ever heard somebody had, I think, was 1,700 that I've personally talked to. And seen and physically saw them, and they told me, and we were, 1,700. She says she bought them for their, to get all the grandkids there all at once. But it's like, man, 3,000 points. Could you imagine?
That's crazy.
So I'll just say this, and I apologize if there's anybody out there that actually has like 3,000 points and listens to this podcast. I'm sorry, but I mean, realistically, yeah, the kind of people that would buy into those incentives, they're not listening to this podcast. They're not. These are people that have, hundreds of thousands of dollars of disposable income that they can use on this kind of stuff. So, I mean, obviously, yeah, Disney knows that. They know that there's people out there that they can get with that kind of stuff. But for the rest of us, I'll just take a pass on this one.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And and if anybody, by the way, does have 3,000 points and are listening right now,
you get to automatically come onto the show.
Yeah, please send us an email, and you will get a free guest spot and a personal apology from Trevor.
Yeah. I will apologize.
But, somebody on here that I'm looking at this article, somebody actually did the math on it. So they were saying if they add on 125 points at Copper Creek, which would cost $22,000 at full price, and you basically subtract $750, you end up with $21,250. So your 125 points really just goes down to 170 points. So it's really not a huge deal. I mean, it's just too much, right? I don't know. It doesn't do anything for me. If my next purchase is going to be resale, is how I feel about it. But I know, Damon, you were looking at that too. So
yeah, maybe. I don't know yet. It might be, though. Might be. We need to get Nick on the show again. He'll talk me into it.
Yeah,
or wait and see how the Riviera pans out, right?
Yeah, the rumors, though, $200 a point is going to be pretty brutal.
Oh, is that what they're saying? Mm-hmm. I hadn't seen that.
I'm not allowed to say anything. That's what I heard. That's been ugly rumor spread.
Wait a sec. You're not allowed to say anything, but you just said it, though.
Yeah, so that's what people are guessing.
Okay, that's gonna be rough. But that resort is gonna be in such prime real estate. It's gonna be hard not to want to do it.
It will be.
Is it really, though? Because
you mean the real estate wise, prime real estate?
Yeah.
Well, you're right between Star Wars Land, basically, and Epcot.
True. Yeah, I guess. I'm just looking at, because it's literally like right where I was at Caribbean Beach, which, in terms of transportation, it was easy to get to Epcot.
It's going to have gondolas by that point.
Yeah, so I guess getting to those two is fine. But yeah, if you want to go to Magic Kingdom or Animal Kingdom.
So for all our podcast listeners, unfortunately, I am going to have to jump off a little early today. So I'm going to give you my opinion on what they're going to talk about coming up. Because
it's the Tom and Trevor show again. It's the Tom and Trevor show.
If I didn't, I'd feel uncomfortable about it. The DVC merchandise available at the member lounge, that's going to be awesome because I think that the member lounge needed something.
Yeah.
And I will buy stuff there. I'm telling you, even if I wasn't going to buy stuff anywhere else, for some reason, I'm sitting down, I'm drinking a soda from the soda machine. I'm going to buy something there. International Flower and Garden, I've already been. I don't know if these guys have, but they asked, has anyone ever been?
I've already
been. It's awesome. You have to do the butterfly tent because if you don't do the butterfly tent, why are you even there? That's the best. Okay. And the topiaries are pretty cool. The one that I like the best, there was a Chef Donald one year. But anyway, okay, so let's see.
I like Rapid Fire Damon.
You like
Damon
Rapid Fire Damon?
I feel like this should be a segment on our show now. Rapid Fire Damon. Like David just goes through the list of topics and just like, I like this, I hate this, I don't like this, I like this.
They're going to talk about Disneyland, so I'm just going to skip over that whole entire section because I don't care.
We assumed you would anyway. We assumed you would.
And then 21st Century Fox, I don't really care. It doesn't really matter to me. And it's funny because I think that Tom and Trevor have said something on the boards on Facebook that they think that I might agree with. And I'm going to agree with the lady that says by adding Marvel stuff to Disneyland takes away some of the Disney magic. And after that, I'm just going to jump off the show and I'm going to let them take you through the rest of these topics. And I'm going to schedule myself better. I'm smacking myself on the hand now that I will be able to make all of the show next time.
I love that you're doing like an actual mic drop right now.
Yes. but I bid you adieu, and we will catch up for the next episode.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Damon.
Yeah, it's the Tom and Trevor show again.
Yep.
All right. So
obviously, Damon was predisposed, so we will continue on. So the member lounge merchandise.
Do you have any DVC merch? Because I've got DVC merch. I kind of love the stuff they have.
I got they actually sent me the bag when I signed up for DVC. So I have the tote, and that's it. When I was down there last time, I was kind of looking for DVC stuff, but again, because I wasn't staying in DVC, I wasn't really thinking about it as much. But I do agree with what Damon says, that, it seems like a no-brainer is that you have a DVC space, you're going to sell DVC merchandise, because otherwise, like, you end up looking all over the parks for it, and why not centralize it to DVC people are going to go there, that they want it, so why not?
And when I stayed at Boardwalk, they had a whole DVC store. So there was a whole DVC store at Boardwalk that like had everything. So we got like a windbreaker, we got a hat, we got all sorts of good stuff from that store. So I think it's great to have it more readily available, especially at that lounge, because like Damon said, you're kind of feeling warm and fuzzy in your membership when you're sitting there in the lounge drinking your free soda and maybe your free snacks that I have yet to see the entire time I've gone. I never see the free snacks. I don't know. I guess I go at the wrong time, but yeah, no, I think that's a great thing. So yeah, DVC merch now available in the member lounge. And I did want to talk too about the International Flower and Garden Festival, because I've never been and I've always wanted to go, and it sounds like Damon has had a good time there, but I've never gone.
You see, yeah, and this is the thing. I've never done Flower and Garden either, and I was super excited when I heard that I'm going to be there the first week of May, so I'll be there right towards the end of it. And yeah, what I've heard about is that, that there's some really cool shows that they put on, like limited time shows. The topiaries are amazing. I did hear about the butterfly tent, so I know what Damon's talking about. We do actually have something similar at the zoo here in Calgary, but yeah, I feel like it, having Disney's twist on that it'll be worthwhile. And just, I guess I should put some context behind this, is that, so my mom is a gardener. She growing up, she was always like spending tons of time in the garden. So I'm not a gardener myself, but I do pay attention to plants and stuff like that. And the floral arrangements that they do around the lagoon area in Epcot look amazing to me. Oh, yeah. Like I really want to go see those in person, because I think, again, that's something that would be really, really worthwhile to just go and experience, right? So
yeah, and I would love to. They always do all the fun stuff when I can't go. But for those that don't know, by the way, this is happening February 28th to May 28th. So those are going on during those dates, and they just kind of announced the details of it. There's also, they do concerts. So they'll have bands from like the 60s through the 90s, and it's usually filled with like a bunch of like, oh, I remember those guys,
Yeah. Yeah, I think Starship was playing there at one point. So that was kind of my childhood.
So yeah, no, that's the cool part about it too. They have all those different things. They do have food stuff too, different food booths and things like that. So that's cool as well. But yeah, I just wanted to bring it up because they did confirm the details of it, and the dates have been confirmed of it, and it almost feels like there's something going on year round now at Epcot, with the exception of the summertime, because they don't really need to have anything going on during the summertime because everybody's there anyway. So, I wish they were doing it for me, just because that's when I go. But
and really, it's, if you think about it, I guess maybe this is kind of how they've been filling the gap with the way Epcot's been. And I'm not trying to say that in like the worst way,
but it's true though. It's true.
Epcot's really been. They've been stalled out for a while as like a place that you want to go. It like even when we were down there, it's like, Hollywood Studios is under a lot of construction, but when we went over to Epcot, it was kind of like, okay, what do we do here? Like,
You feel like Epcot's kind of looked the same for the past like 30 years, pretty much. Like it hasn't changed.
yeah,
It's been mostly the same. There hardly haven't been like many additions, but like mostly it's been kind of stagnant.
you're right. And yeah, actually that's a lot of it, is that it does look the same as when it opened. So it's hard to get excited about it, which I guess is kind of weird because, you know, you go over to Magic Kingdom. Magic Kingdom has its own sense of magic about it, right? I mean, it's in the name.
Timeless.
I know
It's kind of
Magic Kingdom,
timeless.
but yeah, but you know, you always get excited going out there. Epcot, I feel like I walk in and I see Spaceship Earth and I get that initial excitement, and then it's like I walk past Spaceship Earth and it's like, okay, now what?
I know what you mean. I mean, you can only
Yeah.
walk around the World Showcase so many times, and you know, you can only go on Soarin' so many times, and behind the seeds and all that. I mean, not behind the seeds. Living with the Land. I'm sorry, I did that tour the last time I was there. But you're totally right, and that's why I'm glad they're finally showing a lot of attention to it. Although we really haven't heard that many more details about what they're actually doing since D23. You know, because they showed a lot of concept art, like they're redoing this whole thing, but it seems like their plans are still kind of, you know, fluid. They're still kind of trying to figure out what they're going to do.
Yeah, and I feel also, again, the other thing too, that the reason that the Flower and Garden Festival is running as long as it is because it's the 25th anniversary of the Flower and Garden Festival. So again, it's not like this is a new thing per se. Like Flower and Garden's been going on for years and years and years, but it again, it's a temporary thing. It's not meant to be a like you said, if you happen to be there when it's going on, great, but if not, they need something else to keep people coming to Epcot.
Exactly. And I mean, it's smart. It's a smart move for sure for the interim while they're figuring all this stuff out. And, you know, it's going to be years to come of construction over there. Although I feel like it's not going to be as evident as it was at Hollywood Studios because they're not really ripping anything out that we know of yet. You know, Hollywood Studios is such a mess right now because they literally just cut half the park in half. It seems like the Ratatouille ride's happening behind the scenes, the Guardians of the Galaxy ride's happening kind of not behind the scenes, in front of your face, but mostly behind the scenes.
Well, but really that whole area, like Innoventions and all of that, has been such a dead area for a long time. Like even when I was there 10 years ago, you could walk through there and you could spin around in circles for like 10 minutes and you'd never hit anybody because
That's true.
there was never enough people. There was never enough people in that area. Like again, it's not like any of the other parks where you felt that you were cramped, right? Like, I mean, World at Showcase does get cramped, but Future World, yeah, that area they have. There's no one there anyway, so they've got time to do these kinds of expansions without affecting anything else. And yeah, same thing. Ratatouille, all that stuff is like on the perimeter of the park. It's not actually.
It's not going to interrupt anything.
Disabling.
Yeah. And I you know, it's so sad to me that Interventions has basically become like an air conditioned hallway to walk. It's like, oh, let's walk through Interventions because it's air conditioned, and while we're going from Test Track over to Soarin', like that's basically what it's become. It's just a big air conditioned hallway. I mean, now they did add that new show, which did premiere the what was the name of that show we talked about on the last show?
The science.
I totally forget.
Science.
Yeah,
something.
the Imagine Lab thing. Wasn't that something like that? But anyway, I'm sure someone will write us in. But we talked about it on the show last week.
Yeah.
They're opening a new show, and that did start. I haven't seen reviews about it yet, and we obviously none of us have seen it. But they are doing some things, and they're trying. You know, I always enjoy the Jameters personally. You know, I love like the Streetmosphere stuff. And have you ever seen the Jameters? The guys that play like on all their tools and like the garbage cans and stuff.
No, I haven't seen any street performers in Epcot. I've heard about these things. I've yet to see any of them live.
The Jameters always kind of hang out in that little area that you're talking about, kind of like on the way to Mission Space, you know, Test Track area over there, and they come out at random times and they play stuff on like garbage cans and like, you know, tools, and they basically make music with everyday things. It's pretty cool. So that's one of those weird things that we always like to see. But I don't know how we got on an Epcot tear right there because we were just talking about the
well, because we start with Flower and Garden and we kind of looked at the larger picture. But yeah, ultimately, yes, Flower and Garden will be starting up this year, February 28th, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm glad that I'm going to get to experience it this year because, yeah, it sounds like it's something worthwhile that they've. I mean, yeah, it's gone on for 25 years now.
Yeah,
so.
absolutely. And speaking of reimagining areas, look at that transition. So the next thing we wanted to talk about actually was at D23. They announced that Pixar Pier, Paradise Pier at Disneyland was going to be becoming Pixar Pier. But they didn't give a ton of details about it at that time. And I think probably because they were still trying to figure some of it out, right? But so now they've announced kind of what they're doing. And it actually seems like they're closing down the whole land in early January to redo all this. And basically what they're going to do, they're going to retheme all the rides. They're going to redo all the merchandise, and all the food locations are all going to be themed to Pixar movies. And they're going to create 4 new neighborhoods within the land themed to Pixar movies. So you have the Incredibles neighborhood, this Toy Story neighborhood. There's going to be an Inside Out neighborhood. And then there's one that's going to be kind of like all the Pixar movies together. And so California Screamin' is going to turn into the Incredicoaster, which I feel like is something that's been rumored forever. An Incredibles coaster. But I think we all thought it was going to be something brand new as opposed to just an overlay. But it seems like what they're doing is pretty cool. They're building a new loading area for it, and they're like adding special effects and a new soundtrack and new character moments. So and you're a big Disneyland guy, so I wonder how you feel about all these changes happening to the area.
So first of all, redoing Paradise Pier, thank goodness.
Is it that bad?
Well, okay, it's not awful. I mean, the land itself is still entertaining. Like you still had Toy Story Midway Mania there, California Screaming as it is today, and Mickey's Fun Wheel. I enjoyed those. I think they were great. And even over on the far side, there's also Goofy Sky School, which is similar to the Dino Whirl ride in Animal Kingdom. Okay. Like it's the same kind of roller coaster, except the cars don't do that crazy spinning thing. Yeah. So I mean, you got those things there, and then the rest of it is just Midway games. But the problem is that it's actually a remnant of the original design of California Adventure, which I actually think that California Adventure is going to lose its name pretty soon. Ooh. Because the whole idea of California Adventure was that when they first released it, and I was there pretty close to when they launched, it was like, hey, this is Disney's version of various places in California, which, you're already in California. So it was kind of like, why would I go to a fake
California in California?
A fake pier in California when I can, drive for 20 minutes and go to Santa Monica. So it seemed really, I don't want to say it wasn't cheap. It seemed okay at the time, but as the whole rest of the park, because what happened was the park very slowly started to transition, like where you got Cars Land opening up. They redid the area was called Condor Flats, and they redid it into Grizzly Peak, which was a lot more. It's still kind of tied into Cars, like they had theming from that Planes movie, which if you've ever seen that, and then also there's an area that's based on Up as well.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so it's a lot of so that was kind of like you could see that pattern of like it was more of those Pixar movies were starting to take over the area. So the fact that Pixar Pier is now coming, it's like, okay, they finally, or not that they finally, but they've just continued with that. This park is really a Pixar park at the end of the day, and I'm totally okay with them redoing the pier. I think an overlay of California Scream will be interesting. The fact that they say new special effects is kind of curious because it's just a big straightforward coaster. I don't know where they could put effects in on that.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Because like it's big out in the open air. Like I said, I'd be curious to see how that all looks at the end of the day. The other thing I'm glad too is that Inside Out ride that's coming in. That's actually that's going into a spot that's had a ride there years ago called the Maliboomer that they pulled out, and that whole area has just been sitting vacant since then. But the funny thing is that when they pulled it out, like you could see the platform and everything for the ride, but there was just nothing there. So it kind of, again, took away from the overall appeal of that part of the park.
Interesting. So so it seems to me then that they didn't say what the Inside Out ride is going to be, but in my mind, it almost sounds like it's going to be some kind of standard ride that they're going to theme to Inside Out. And what I mean by that, some sort of flat ride that you would throw at an amusement park.
A pre-purchased.
It's not going to
Yeah.
be some sort of like over Imagineered type of thing. It's just going to be some, I don't even know what it's going to be. They really haven't said, but the fact that they haven't said and shown like concept art and some ideas there, that just makes me think they're just going to kind of toss something in there, which it's not a terrible thing.
And no, it's not. I mean, because really, when you look at the overall aesthetic, is that whole area being like a California pier. That's what California piers, like Santa Monica Pier, has. It's all those like kind of pre-built
Carnival type rides.
Carnival rides. So, and again, that's fine. But I think from what I saw in the concept art, they're going to theme it to. It's going to look like one of the like it's part of long-term memory from Inside Out.
Oh, okay.
So like the big tall memory banks with the orbs and everything. So I think they'll be able to do some fun stuff with it, regardless of whether the ride is innovative or not. I don't think that matters so much because, again, it's more a matter of just making the overall area fit.
Yeah, and I think that makes sense. And I think it's really interesting that you say that they're going to, probably change the name of it. And that makes a lot of sense based on all the things that they're doing. It's a lot like Hollywood Studios, where the original concept was that this is a working studio where things are filmed and, everything sets and it's behind the scenes. And the park just isn't that anymore, and that's why they're going to change the name of it. And it kind of makes sense, too, because it sounds like California Adventure is really losing its California identity. It's much more about IPs and about Pixar, like you said, and some of the different properties that they have. So yeah, I wonder if they're going to do something about that. That's going to be interesting to see if that's something that comes up where they decide to do that. And the other thing that they are going to be doing too is they are going to change Mickey's Fun Wheel to have all the gondolas are going to reflect different Pixar characters, but they're not going to change the Mickey on the front. I can only imagine the uproar if they would have changed Mickey on the front of that Ferris wheel.
It'll still be Mickey's Wheel of Death. Don't worry. Mickey's
Wheel of Death? Wait. I don't know about this because I've never been to Disneyland. What is that about?
Okay, so the thing is that the way that the Ferris wheel is set up, one, it's a very big Ferris wheel. Like, it's one of the biggest Ferris wheels I've been on. And they have two types of cars on it. There's stationary cars and there's moving cars. So the stationary cars are your traditional, like, you get on it and it just goes around and that's it. They have these other cars that are on a track on the inside of the inside of the
wheel, right?
Yeah, and so as you're going up, they'll slide from the outside to the inside of the track, and then as you go around the top, and then you're coming back down on the other side, they'll slide from the inside of the track back to the outside of the track. But when you're doing that, you're actually literally looking right out over the water, like over the pier. So you feel like this thing is going to come right off the rails.
That sounds terrifying.
And you're going to die. Like,
that sounds terrifying.
but I love it, and I would highly recommend seeing if you can find some videos of it on YouTube of people filming other people going on it, because it's absolutely hilarious. I know it's not the kind of ride you would probably go on.
I don't do
Tom,
heights, man. I don't do regular Ferris wheels. Let alone that. That sounds terrifying.
Yeah, and the greatest thing was I took my wife and my son on it, and I knew how it was going to be. And I took my son on, and he did what I called the bat, which was he clung to the sides of the cage, like holding on for his dear life, kind of like how a bat holds on to like, the side of a rock. That's or whatever. So yeah, it was pretty fun.
That would probably be me. That'd probably be me too. I'd have my eyes closed and go, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to get off this.
Yeah, it's and it, like I said, people do actually call it the Wheel of Death, because that inside track, if you're on one of those moving cars, it's pretty different from any other Ferris wheel.
They give you an option that you could do a regular Ferris wheel and you could do the moving one, right? So
yeah. And yeah, the fact that they're not changing it, I mean, again, that kind of sticks together with the fact that it is still Disney at the end of the day, even though it's a Pixar park, is you've got Mickey in the middle of the whole thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I think this sounds really cool. I've never been, but I like what they're doing, and I think it's some really neat changes, and it makes sense with kind of the strategy that they're going to, utilizing all of their IPs that they have out there. I mean, they might as well. They have one of the best sets of IPs that anybody has, right? And that actually perfectly takes us into our next conversation, doesn't it? We're just so good with the transitions today.
absolutely.
So everyone probably saw this in the news, and we're going to put this into the rumor category because it's not been confirmed by either company, but a lot of people are reporting it. And truthfully, it's not even happening at the moment, so it may not happen. But Disney has been in talks to buy 21st Century Fox. And the interesting thing about this is they're not going to buy all of Fox, right? So they're not going to buy the sports networks. They're not going to buy, like Fox News. Yeah, or any of those types of things. But they're talking about buying their television production and their movie production, and it brings up some interesting possibilities as far as the parks go. Now, as I said, talks have been held; they're not ongoing. Disney would acquire the movie studio, TV production networks, but the interesting thing is this would give Disney some of the rights back to things that they actually already own. So what I mean by that is they, obviously they own Marvel, so they own X-Men, they own Fantastic Four, but they don't have the movie rights to make those because Marvel, as we know, made some bad deals back in the day when they were struggling. And so those are owned by Fox. So they would actually, and I almost wonder if this whole thing is about bringing those specific rights back, right? I mean, did you think that too? Because I was thinking to myself, that's just about getting those rights back.
Right. And I absolutely agree. I think this is that first step in them, getting the really big IPs back, which, I mean, these are the IPs that people have known for, 20 plus years that, to Disney's credit, they've kind of, come back around with the Avengers, because for a long time, the Avengers weren't very big. Like Iron Man wasn't a huge character and all of those. And they brought them all back around and turned them all into their own thing. But when they first bought Marvel, the very obvious thing was, oh gosh, they're going to do an X-Men movie. Like,
yeah,
because, X-Men's, people have loved the X-Men movies forever, but unfortunately they can't because, Fox had control of them for so long. So that also means too, if they get X-Men and Fantastic Four back under their belt, that could mean you actually are able to see them in the park. Because as far as I know, I don't think anybody has theme park rights to those characters.
I don't know that either. I'm trying to think if Universal has them, but at the very least, even if Universal did have them for their parks, Disney could still do it at Disneyland, where they're going to build a Marvel park. They can still. Yep. Then they'd be able to put those characters into that Marvel park. They could bring X-Men into that. They could bring Fantastic Four into it. And, besides that too, also just doing the movies again and bringing those into the Avengers fold, or, into all those other things. There's all sorts of cool stuff that they could do with this. But the thing I found interesting too, besides the Marvel stuff, it would also give them the rights to Alien, and it would give them the rights to Avatar too, which I thought was really interesting.
Which they already have Avatar
exactly.
in
they
the
already
park,
got that,
so.
Right? Well, maybe they'd have to stop paying for the licensing then on that, right? So money saver.
And really, I guess that's no different than like with George Lucas, right? Like the Indiana Jones and Star Wars have been in Disney parks since the 80s.
Yeah, exactly.
Until he eventually sold it off. So this kind of seems like in the same line, is that they're going, okay, well, we already have what we, quote unquote, have this. So let's get the rest of it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny because if you know the history behind the Alien Encounter ride, initially they wanted that to be the alien from Alien, right? So that was what they initially wanted, but they could just never figure that out. And so now that if they did this, they would actually own the alien, and that begs the question: would they try to do that again? Would they try to bring that kind of ride back again? I don't know.
Well, the thing was that the alien was actually in the Great Movie Ride too.
That's true.
Like they actually did put it in there. So.
Yeah. But just not an alien encounter.
And but now there's no more Great Movie Ride yet. They just bought. I don't know.
It's really it's got there's a lot of interesting possibilities here, and I'm sure there's a lot of other properties out there and assets that we're not mentioning here that they would then gain ownership of, and it would come up with. There's all sorts of interesting things they could really do with the catalog of things that Fox has. Man, there's some really interesting things that could come of that, but we had to bring it up because it's like the biggest Disney news that has been out there. The thing I found interesting about this too, and this is not about Disney parks at all, which is, a little bit off the rails for us, but it would also give Disney the majority stake in Hulu, which would be interesting for the Disney's own streaming service that they're going to be coming out with over the next couple of years here, because then, they've got Hulu and they've got access to all this content. They could really fill their streaming service with a lot of exclusive content. I mean, they could really make this. I actually read an article yesterday that said that Disney has already won the streaming, and they haven't even started their streaming service yet.
Yeah, I mean, Well, really, how long were people, chomping at the bit to have Disney stuff on Netflix?
Oh
right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I again, this is one of those things that, sorry, but Disney has tons and tons of movies and TV shows and all that kinds of stuff. And, I don't care if it's through Hulu or their own version of it or whatever. Just, give me a streaming service. Give me something reasonable that I don't have to pay an arm and a leg for. And give me something that I don't have to. For me personally, the way that I actually look at all this is that I'm hoping that it means that when they have to start dealing internationally, they don't have to jump through as many hoops. Because even for myself, so I had Netflix a long time ago, and I actually turned it off because in Canada, Disney, they had to do all the licensing and everything to have the Disney stuff in Canada. And they just gave up on it. So we didn't have any Disney streaming for the longest time. And I mean, now I can go straight to the websites and get it all and everything. But it made it extremely frustrating in an international market to get a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, and Fox has a lot greater exposure internationally too than Disney does too. So it's
exactly,
so that could be really helpful for you especially. But it brings up a lot of interesting possibilities. And I mean, already if you look at it, they've got, I think I read somewhere that last year, or maybe it was this year, that 40% of the box office was from Disney properties. And it's like, if you think about that in its own streaming service, and that's the only place you can get these things, man. And they also said it's going to be way less money than what Netflix costs too, which if it's like $5 a month, who isn't going to sign up for that?
I was going to say way less. I mean, I was paying like $8 a month for Netflix. So like,
yeah, when Iger said that, I was like, wait, what is way less? Is that $5? Is that half? I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah. Are you going to do it for $2 or, cause I mean, I'm on board. Don't get me wrong. I'm on board.
And the funny thing is that I would be on board for $10. Like if they were charging the same thing I pay for Netflix, I would probably pay the same thing for it. I mean, with you're talking all the Star Wars, you're talking all the Marvel, you're talking about all the Disney stuff. I mean, it's a lot of things, and all the Pixar. That's worth $10 a month easily. So, yep. But anyway, so we wanted to bring this up, even though we usually don't talk about stuff that's outside the parks, but this does kind of tie into the parks. It can definitely have an impact in the parks if this deal eventually goes through, because Disney's going to be maybe more willing to, if they're going to make their own X-Men movie, then maybe they're going to, make rides around that. They do that kind of thing all the time. Part of the reason why they're making the Incredicoaster is because the Incredibles 2 is coming out, right around the same time. So they do these kinds of things. So I'm thinking if they get X-Men back and they get Fantastic Four back, next thing you know, we're going to have X-Men and Fantastic Four rides in the park. So we just wanted to talk about that a little bit. So why don't we go ahead and wrap this up? I think we had a pretty good conversation today. So.
Yeah, I think we had a good day today. So for anybody that wants to send us emails or wants me to apologize for calling you out for having these C points,
I hope we get like 10 of those emails.
Yeah. You can reach us by email at welcomehomepodcast@gmail.com. We also have our website up as well, which is www.welcomehomepodcast.com, where you can find our episodes and all that kind of stuff. We're always looking for questions and comments and everything from our listeners. So, please send them our way. We love hearing from you guys. We love hearing your feedback. We love just, knowing that we've got an audience out there and you guys all share the same passion that we do. If you want to hit us up on social media, you can find us on Facebook at Welcome Home Podcast. You can find us on Twitter at Welcome Home Pod, and you can find us on Instagram at Welcome Home Pics. Once again, we like the likes, we like follows and shares and all that kinds of stuff. It just helps get us out there. Also, if you happen to find us via iTunes, we do also appreciate either on iTunes or Google Play if you could leave us a review. It helps with the exposure too. These are all things to just help us get out there to a bigger audience, and so we can keep doing these episodes for you guys.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to call us out either, because we had a listener. We meant to mention this, Trevor, was we talked about fast passes, about the fast pass situation with which, by the way, that to my knowledge, that thing we talked about last week with the fast passes going to the Good Neighbor hotels, I haven't seen that announced anywhere still, but that's neither here nor there.
No.
But somebody on Facebook mentioned to us that they're an annual pass holder in Florida, and they do have an issue with the 30-day limits on annual pass holders in Florida. So, and because I think maybe I had made a comment that nobody's complaining about that. So we appreciate that gentleman writing in and disagreeing with us and telling us we're wrong. So please do so. Don't be afraid to tell us we're not saying the right thing. So thank you guys for listening. We really appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe to Welcome Home Podcast so you can be reminded every time we release a new episode. You can find us on iTunes, Google Play Music, TuneIn, Stitcher, just about any other podcast app that's available out there. You can find us. Just search for Welcome Home. And just a reminder to our listeners, Welcome Home Podcast is for entertainment only. We are not employed by the Walt Disney Company, and as such, any and all opinions we express on this show are our own. So please consult your DVC representative or cast member for more information. And you can find me on Prince Charming Vacations for your Disney vacation planning needs. Damon's not here, so he doesn't get to promo his site today. Thank you guys for listening to the podcast. We really appreciate it. Join us next time for more Disney Parks discussion and, of course, more DVC talk. We hope to see you all real soon.
This is Skipper Albert AWOL, the voice of the jungle, signing off from Welcome Home Podcast on the DVC.
We do a huddle when we hit a chair. How she can cuddle is no man's affair. I looked around from pole to pole, found her in a sugar bowl, eating